Hello everyone, welcome. In this lesson, I'm going to show you how to derive month-on-month variance on Power BI. That is the difference between last month transactions and the current month transaction on a trend. So I'm going to show you how to do that. We are going to implement using a DAX routine called parallel period. So before we start, let me just tell you the things that we want to achieve in this lesson. First of all, we'll do the month on month. Then we'll now do conditional formatting. After conditional formatting, then we'll just do a slight formatting of our metrics table. So let's start with the slight formatting of our metrics table. So on the visualization part of Power BI, I have the visualization pane here. So I'm going to select this metrics table. This is a metrics table. I'm just going to select that. I'm going to expand it a bit. Then I already have a measure here on this my measure table called transactions count. This is the transactions count on the table, the count of transactions. So I'm going to put it on the value side. It's there. It's on the value side right here. So I'm also going to show this month on month. So I'm going to come to my calendar table, click on that, then go to my month here, put this on the rows. So I have this here, my transactions on monthly basis for 5 months. Is this 5? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 months. Yes, June to November. So now, what I'm going to do is just to make this bigger a bit, just a little formatting around this my matrix table. So I'll come to my format button here. So I'll click on format. Yeah. Then I'll go to grid. I'll on my vertical grid. So this owns a tick line here. Yeah, by owning this vertical grid. I come down here on the horizontal grid. So it owns just a line across here. So because of the color, you won't really see it. Yeah. So the other thing I'm going to do is my row padding. I'm going to increase my row padding from 1 to 2. So you can see that the rows increased a bit. Then the other thing I'm going to do is my text size. I'm going to increase my text size by, let me take that to 12. So why I love this, okay, let me take it to, okay, 13 is fine. So why I love this is that once I increase this text size, everything around here, so just adjusts, so just to fit in. So now I have my transaction count. Now I want to derive for the transaction count for the previous month. What I want to show is that for July, I want June's transaction to appear by the side. So that is what I'm going to do with this measure. So to do that, so I come to my measure table, come to these 3 lines here, click on it, then I go to new measure. This new measure, I call it LM, capital letter LM, that is last month. Last month's transactions, not sales. Last month transactions. Yeah. Transaction count. Let me just say tran count, just to make it shorter. Okay. So I'll use my calculate to introduce a filter context. That is calculate, right? So what is my expression? My expression is the transaction count because that is what I want to shift back by 1 month. Yeah, so transaction count, then comma, then I break lines, shift enter. Then the measure I'm going to use to backdate my transaction is called the parallel period. So parallel period. So my dates will be my calendar table. I have the calendar table right here. So this will be my dim calendar, then the date column, comma. So the number of intervals, that is the number of intervals mean what is the number of months or the number of years or the number of days I want to compare it with. I want to move backwards. Yeah. So since we are moving backwards, here will be -1, comma. Then it shows me that, okay, what interval do I want to move? Is it month? Is it quarter? Is it year? In this case, I want to move month. So I just pick the month and close this, close the bracket, then enter. All right. So let's just put this separator. Let's bring our last month transaction count to the fields here. Last month transaction count, we place it here. So you can see that this June number is now beside July. July number here is now beside August. So the next thing now is to get the variance, the month-on-month variance. So I'll come here, new measure, click on new measure. I'll call this MOM, which means month-on-month. VAR means variance in this case. So this will be transaction count, that is tran count. So I'll go and pick that measure, tran count, minus LM tran count. That's tran count for the previous month. So I enter. Right. So let me view that on the metrics. So I click on this to put a separator to my number. So I bring the month-on-month VAR right here. So you can see this minus this is minus 12,000 is a drop. This is a growth. So another thing I want to do again is this variance in percentage, right? So to do that, I'll come to my measures table again, more option, new measure. Then I'll call this percentage variance, percentage month-on-month variance. So that will be what? The month-on-month variance, MOM variance. Just pick that over the LM last month count, right? So we want to see a growth or a drop in percentage terms. So click on this. Okay, make it one decimal place. Yeah, by just clicking here, just click here, just move it downwards, one decimal place. So I'm going to pick this month-on-month variance. I'm going to put it on the fields. So we can see, right, infinity, this. So how can we clear up this error? So now, this is what I want to do. In June, that there is no value before June, right? So I want this value to repeat here, so that here will give me 0. So I'm going to include a condition on the LM tran count measure to do that. So let's go to LM tran count. So I'm going to use an if statement. So that is if now, if all this, if is blank, because right here is blank. So I'll say if is blank, the value will be all of this. If it's blank, the result of all of this, give me what? 0. No, not give me 0. Give me that measure, that transaction count. Just return that transaction count. Right? Else. So return transaction count. Else return this measure. So return this measure that calculates the last month. Right. Enter. All right. So let's quickly view that number. You can see 0.000%. So we are all good. So the next thing we are going to do now is to do a conditional format on this percentage. That if it's negative, it should be red. If it's positive, if the growth is positive, it should be green. So let's go. So we'll come to month-on-month variance. Then we'll do conditional format. Then we'll come to font color. We'll click on font color. So what do we want to format by? So we don't want to use color scale. We want to format by using rules, a set of rules. That if you are rules, positive, green, negative, red. So let's do values and totals. Okay, since this is in percentage, we can do values only. So since the total here doesn't really add up. So we will say if this is greater than or equal to minimum, so any minimum value, so no matter till infinity minimum value, and it's less than 0. So this is so let's leave it as number, and it's less than 0. So you give us red. So let's pick this red. So new rule. So if it's now 0, let's say number, then give us amber. Then under new rule, so if this is now greater than 0, so greater than 0 here, number, or less than, here now we'll make here maximum, less than maximum. So this should give us green, right? So click on this. So we can see that the positives are green and the negatives are red. So another interesting way to view this percentage variance is to actually plot it on a chart. Let me move this here a bit. Let me take this clustered column chart, for example. Okay, here is fine. So let me plot this variance on this chart. So I come to my month-on-month variance, I put it on the values, right? Then I come to date, that is month year. I pick this month year and I drop it on the axis. So this is you can see a drop, a growth, a drop, and a growth. But looking at this, so just looking at this at a glance, you won't know which ones are dropping, which ones are growth, which ones grew. So an easy way to though we are saying that these ones are negatives, but it's still good that we format it in a way that anyone, just by seeing this chart, you know that, oh, this is what's happening here. So what we'll do to get that is to go to our format here. We'll click on format. So, but we are clicking on this chart before clicking on format. Then we go to data colors. So instead of changing the colors individually, we will change it using a measure, right? So go to FX, click on FX. So we want to use by rules, month-on-month variance. The same rules we applied to the percentage. If it's greater than 0, number, and less than, if it's greater than minimum, sorry, not, and less than 0, then this should give us red, less than 0, red. Then new rule, if it's equal to 0 itself, number, then give us what? Amber. Then new rule, if it's then greater than, if it's greater than 0, number, and less than maximum. So what should they give? This should give us green. Yeah, then we click OK. So you see that red, anywhere there's a drop is red, and anywhere there's a growth is green. Another interesting thing to show here is to just show data labels, just to see, yeah, just to see this. Okay, so that will be all for this lesson. So we've seen how this works: conditional formatting, month-on-month variance, parallel period. So I hope you enjoyed this lesson. I'll see you next time.